to build back better than before.
Remember the terrible damage of COVID as we try to build back from this global pandemic.
Joe Biden calls it Build Back Better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently, to build back better.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
It's my plan to build back better.
Start taking all the problems that have been created in education and mental health and start to build back in a positive way.
At exactly what point did voters decide that multinational corporations should be the ones in charge of our policies? Welcome back to Rebel News. Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, and even Boris Johnson, while he's eating fish, are saying build back better. From New Zealand to Prince Charles to Bill Gates, they're all saying it. We need a great reset, they say. But why? Why are so many world leaders and wannabe world leaders saying the same thing? Is it possible that a dozen political campaigns across the world all have the same campaign by coincidence? The Green Party does it. They're open about it at least. It's literal globalism. Now, globalism just means conducting policy and economics on a global level. The media used to call it anti-Semitic to point that out, but certain people have international political goals, and they've moved beyond petty news stories at this point. Or even trying to convince the public the way Al Gore did in 2006. He failed, by the way. Al Gore was so wrong, his lasting media image is the depiction of him on South Park.
It is a creature which roams the earth alone.
So they tried AOC, she can barely put a sentence together. They tried Greta Thunberg, she's not a kid anymore and she's not drinking their Kool-Aid that they're pouring down her throat. So what do they do now to convince you climate change legislation is the only way to solve poverty? They just get together without you and tell your politicians what to think or say. If that montage off the top didn't seem suspicious to you, maybe you prefer to see it in writing. In April 2020, the World Economic Forum, ran by totally not a James Bond villain, Klaus Schwab, published something called How to Build Back Better After COVID-19. It details the most obvious ways to recover after a pandemic. Tackling climate change, of course. Healthcare, personal freedom, lowering taxes, no. We need remote working, carbon tax, and climate change initiatives. So much so that we mention it 14 times on the first page. Exactly 2 months later to the day, Klaus Schwab, it's a hard name, he's very evil, he wrote in no fewer words, "Now is the time for a great reset." Strange. Why would a bunch of politicians be repeating the same slogans as the leader of a group of multinational corporations? There are many reasons to pursue a great reset, but the most urgent is COVID-19, he says. 1 out of 4 workers have filed for unemployment, he says. The world economy is shrinking, he adds. This will exacerbate the climate and social crises that were already underway. Some countries have already used the COVID-19 crisis as an excuse to weaken environmental protections and enforcement. Frustrations over social ills like rising inequality, such as the rising wealth of billionaires, are intensifying. We must build entirely new foundations for our economic and social systems. What? So the economy is shrinking and people are out of jobs because of lockdowns, but the solution is stopping climate change and inequality? Why don't you understand? It's so simple. What's wrong with you guys? Your politicians lock you down and put you out of work, and that's the billionaires' fault. So we need to tax you in new and different ways with the same politicians, but with different billionaires, and everything will be better and equal. Get it? It's pretty simple. This is Klaus Schwab. He's one of many telling your politicians to do this, and they're listening. So we should probably know what else he's saying before it becomes policy, because it will. We can guarantee you this. On their super exciting Great Reset podcast, a real thing by the way, more unelected CEOs echo what your politicians are too unintelligent to come up with on their own. Take a second to listen to Prince Charles tell you everything in a nutshell from this meeting.
Thirdly, we must redesign systems and pathways to advance net zero transitions globally. And in this regard, carbon pricing can form a critical pathway to genuinely sustainable markets. This reset moment is our opportunity to accelerate and align our efforts to create truly global momentum.
Reset moment, carbon pricing, net zero emissions. None of this will feed your family. In fact, it will take food off your table, but they're saying it anyways. Now you know why Prince Charles, who is in charge of exactly 0 people, he's been elected by no one, now you know why he was at the UN Climate Conference, to regurgitate their talking points. We listened to the rest of the robots so you didn't have to, and it doesn't get any better actually, but here are the other participants you may want to take note of. Bernard Looney was there. He's the CEO of BP Oil. He said all recovery stimulus should have green conditions attached to it, meaning carbon prices and no subsidies for fossil fuel. Increased gas prices, are you seeing that where you live? Sharon Burrow, General Secretary of the International Trade Union Confederation, not a Star Wars reference, we looked it up to check. Her wisdom told us income disparity is also the cause of race and gender inequality. So here you were thinking that you're just poor. Turns out you're also racist and sexist. So on one hand, they say being poor causes all the other societal problems, and then they say, no, we need to increase the price of energy and fuel. Nothing backwards about that at all. Who else was featured in the roundtable for the evil Great Reset, you ask? Lord Klaus Schwab, of course, President of Microsoft Brad Smith, AJ Banga, the Executive Chairman of MasterCard, and Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund. Not a big job at all, of course, just the former CEO of the World Bank. That's all. So are politicians just saying the slogan, or are they taking the advice? You tell me. Trudeau's infrastructure plan from 2020 wants to, quote, build back better, and talks about, quote, a low-carbon economy. In February 2021, Trudeau said he and Biden plan on building back better and fighting climate change, while also tackling the climate crisis. Interesting points you guys have made there. Boris Johnson's official Build Back Better plan mentions climate a mere 27 times. Here's the first paragraph of that plan. These remarkable vaccines are giving us a realistic way forwards to restart our business and our lives. We must grasp this historic opportunity for us to learn the lessons of this awful pandemic and, of course, build back better. Monumentally intelligent stuff there. Of course, there's Biden's Build Back Better agenda, and in New Zealand, it's the same thing. Build Back Better, Great Reset everywhere you look. If you ask the Prime Minister in New Zealand a question she doesn't like, she just leaves. Take a look.
Sir, I will shut down the press conference if you do not cease. Sorry, to our accredited members of the gallery here, we might move to an inside venue. Unfortunately, we've got someone who's disrupting your press conference today, so we might reconvene. Thank you. Can we use the facility here?
Not worshipping vaccines? Well, we'll just take this inside away from the unclean people. You can't ask her a single question. You can't ask any of them questions. Either the leaders of Canada, US, UK, and New Zealand, and countless other notable people came up with the same slogans and policies at the exact same time coincidentally, or companies like BP, MasterCard, and Microsoft are deciding how you live your life. Klaus Schwab, Prince Charles, creepy unelected men you wouldn't leave your children alone with are making the decisions. Are you okay with that? Because it's already happening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like what you heard, of course you did, check out my show every Thursday night on rebelnewsplus.com. It has my name in it.